Let's get it. What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, SchuZ Shoemaker. I appreciate you all for joining me. I hope you guys had an incredible weekend. To kick off today's show, I have a very special guest joining me. He's a man that holds a 17-0 record with 7 KOs. He's ranked number 4 in the WBA and the junior middleweight division. He's also WBA international and continental champion. Goes by the nickname Black Thunder. That's Caoimhin Agyarko. Caoimhin, appreciate you for taking time to come on today, man.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, Caoimhin, I want to get into the very first thing, and that's talk about your most recent fight. I know it's been a couple of months now removed from that day, but there's certain moments in boxers' careers where you almost earn the respect of everybody. And I think that was one of those situations where you're coming into a situation, you fought a great fight, and then you come out 20 days later, you return back to the ring on a big stage against Ryan Kelly, and you get a great performance that night. Can you just take us through now that you've been able to reflect on that performance, just what your thoughts are?
Yeah, obviously, it was a good performance, good short notice fight for me. Obviously, I took a lot of risks jumping in. I think I got 10 days notice.
Right.
So taking a high risk fight like that on 10 days, especially after just fighting, I think 2 weeks prior to that, it was a big risk, but it paid off. So yeah, it was good to get out, be active, and get another good win on my record.
Take us through the process of that, because you finished up a fight against Harley Collison. Great performance there. 10 days later, you accept the next fight. 10 days after that, then you're returning to the ring. That had to be kind of a whirlwind of a 20-day span for yourself. What all happened in that time span?
Yeah, of course. The fight against Harley Collison was more so just to keep me active.
Right.
I was very inactive last year, so we got that fight on a small hall show, and it was just to keep me active. And yeah, I was planning on going home because obviously I train in Liverpool, but I live in Belfast.
Right.
So I was planning on going home and just taking a couple of weeks off because I had a bit of a long camp for that. And obviously I got the call to fight 10 days later. I knew going into that fight that it was a big risk for me. Ryan Kelly's a good fighter. He was preparing for a tough fight in Ismail Davis, so he had a proper camp, would have had proper sparring and stuff like that. And he probably fought at a higher level than me, although he's come up short against some of the top fighters like Kieran Conway and Hamza Shiraz. He's fought at that high level, so the jump in on 10 days notice was a big risk, but it paid off. And after an inactive 2024 was kind of a fight that I needed to take because I didn't have anything else in the pipeline, and I took it, and thankfully I got the win.
I want to go back and revisit that scorecard from that fight, because I think anyone that watched that fight thought it was a little bit of a wider scorecard than what it should have been. Obviously, you had one that was a 50 or 95-95 draw. Obviously, some that were a little bit closer. But when you look back on that, what's your thoughts on that? Do you feel like you had a much larger margin of win there, or what's your thoughts on that performance?
I don't think it was overall a great performance. I think from round 4 or 5 onwards, I kind of started to show the real Caoimhin Agyarko. I kind of slowed into the fight, but based on the scorecards, I don't really take much away from it. The judges are there to do a job, and if that's the way they see the fight, that's the way they see the fight. But
right.
on the night, I thought it was close. I thought maybe I got it by 2 rounds.
Okay.
But when I watched it back, I got why everyone was kind of cross with that 95-95 scorecard, because I probably would have given it to myself by 4 rounds. I think the first half of the fight, he was probably leading 3-2 going into the 5th, 6th round, and then
right.
I feel like I just took over then. So I would have had it 7-3 if I was scoring it.
All right. When you talk about overall things that you learned from that fight, obviously, like you said, short notice, a different opportunity experience for yourself. What would you say you took away from yourself as a boxing ability, as a person? Like, what did you grow from in that fight?
I think the experience and the fact that it wasn't a great performance up until the 4th, 5th round. Okay. I know that's still very short in a fight, but I think from the 5th round onwards, I had to dig deep. Obviously, I suffered my first cut in a fight in 21 years of boxing, so it was something new for me to deal with.
Right.
And when the cut happened, that's when things kind of started getting tough. Maybe I was feeling a bit sorry for myself, and I just think my coach gave me the right instructions in the corner, and kind of we knew what the game plan was, and we knew that the technical ability was there again, like it is against any other fighter. But I I kind of had to dig deep. I had to show a side of me that kind of showed a bit of grit, a bit of heart,
Mm.
so that I can really bite down on my gum shield and go through the gears. And when things aren't going my way, like getting a cut or maybe feeling a bit sorry for myself, that I can turn things around and show a different side of me.
Absolutely. Well, Keeman, I want to get into your life and your career so people get to know you a little bit better. And if we're going to go all the way back, you originally were born in London, then you moved out to Ireland. Walk us through that a little bit. What was it like growing up out there in Ireland?
Yeah, it was a lot different. Obviously, coming from London, just the environment, the community is a lot different. It's a lot tougher in London.
Okay.
Um, but my 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 mum is from Belfast in Ireland, and I have a lot of family here, so it didn't take too long for us to fit in. I had a great childhood growing up, and yeah, but I started boxing as soon as I moved to Ireland when I was 7 years old, and yeah, I've been boxing ever since. But yeah, I had a good childhood. Kind of just I was always active playing sports, whether it was football, boxing, soccer, you call it in America.
Right.
But I was playing Irish sports like Gaelic football and hurling. So yeah, I had a very kind of active childhood.
When you talked about starting boxing at 7 years old, at that point, did you know boxing was going to be the sport for yourself? Or when did you start to feel like, you know what, this is my lifestyle. This is what I really want to pursue moving forward?
No, not at that age. I think I'm very young at that age, and I didn't
Right.
really have full commitment to it because I was playing other sports. But I
Hmm.
think when I got to about 12 years old, 13 years old, that's when I started to take it a lot more serious. I was obviously a lot bigger and kind of understood the sport a bit more. So
Right.
that's when I realized that I have a bit of a talent here, and if I work hard, I can develop that and develop my skills. And that's what I did. I started working hard from a young age and committed myself. And kind of at 14 years old, I knew that this was what I wanted to do.
I know you take great pride in representing Ireland. Can you walk us through that a little bit? Just being able to represent Ireland as a nation, be able to talk about that and represent them wherever you go, wherever you fight. What does it mean to represent Ireland?
It means a lot to me. I think that fighting Irish is in me. I think that's telling, but just the support that you get from the Irish fight fans and just the Irish people in general, no matter what where they are in the world, they always tune in and support their own. And um, you kind of I come from a great community, a great
Mhm.
fighting community, and um, the people in Belfast and Ireland are friendly and loving, and they, like I say, they back their own. So it's always great to be able to go out and perform on the big stage, and knowing that you have a country behind you, and that you're representing them. And I feel like with all the support that I get, that the only way I can repay them is by doing my best and going out and winning every time.
There was a quote you talked about a little bit ago. It said you'll have the potential obviously to be the very first ever Black Irish World Boxing Champion. To have that possibly be an accolade attached to your name, what would that mean to you?
Oh, it would be a dream come true. It's something that I've dreamt of since I was 12, 13 years old. And knowing that I can create history and become the first person to become the first Black Irish World Champion, it means a lot to me. It cement my name in history, and um, more so that I can pave the way for anybody from a different background that's
Mhm.
moved to Ireland, and um, let them know that they can fit in and that they can achieve something no matter where they come from. And that's the kind of way I look at it, is that by achieving that I can set an example for everyone coming after me.
I like how you answer that. It's not just about yourself. You want to be able to reflect for the future generations, the next generation, and multiple generations down the road. Has that been something that's always been a part of you? If you always wanted to invest in the future generation?
Yeah, definitely, because I like to pay homage to the people that came before me, the people that
Hmm.
paved the way for me, the likes of Cord Frampton and people like Anthony Cacachi that box for the same amateur gym as me, and Bernard Dunn, all these great Irish champions. So um, if I can take one kid out of thousands of kids and inspire him and or her to become a boxer or try and achieve something in boxing, then I've done a good job. So yeah, I like to kind of um, lead by example for the younger generation.
You know, when you look at the outcome, the future of the generation of next generation of island boxing, how bright is the future out there?
It's very bright. Ireland come like we've always been called the Fighting Irish, so it's something
Yeah.
that's instilled in us. But there's so much great talent coming from Ireland, from the north of Ireland and south, and it's great to see that Irish fighters are kind of getting the respect they deserve now, being signed with big promoters and fighting on the big stage. Because 10, 15 years ago, or not even that long ago, a lot of great Irish fighters wouldn't have got the opportunity with the big promoters.
As for yourself, and you look at the next future generation we just talked about, are there certain guys that you would say, let's say under 25, 22 years old, are there guys that you look at right now and say they could be guys to keep an eye on, they could be the next future stars of Ireland boxing?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of kids from my amateur gym, and just I like to follow the amateur setup still. The
Mhm.
kids that want to go to the Olympics and stuff, and see how they're developing. And there's a lot of great talent coming through the ranks, the underage ranks, especially in their early 20s. And I look forward to the future of Irish boxing, because it's booming right now, so it can only get better.
Oh, let's head into your career because you have a very incredible amateur career. Just to put some numbers out there, 130 fights in your career, 110 of them in Ireland. You only lost 11 times, 6 national titles, including Irish senior national title. You also boxed 40 times for Ireland and boxed for the world and European championships. When you talk about your overall amateur career, walk us through that. What was that experience like?
Yeah, I had a good amateur career. I won 6 national titles and represented Ireland from a very young age, on the
Right.
world and European scene. So I had a great amateur career, and I learned kind of my trade coming through that prepared me to be able to fight as a professional boxer. But um, yeah, it was a good amateur career. I enjoyed being on the Irish setup and representing my country all around the world. There's been some countries that I've been to that I would have never have got the opportunity to see without boxing. So it was great to be able to achieve a lot of things as an amateur. And the ultimate goal for me was to become an Irish senior champion. I know that I probably would have wanted to go to the Olympics and um, fight as a senior on the big stages, but
Right.
to win an Irish elite championship means a lot to me. To be number one in your country, at the highest level, at the highest stage that you possibly can be, it was a great achievement for me, and it's one of the greatest achievements of my career.
That's what I want to ask you about was the Olympic component. I know you obviously tried out for the 2016 one or 2012 one, I believe, and then it was 2016 you had a chance of going after it again. And you obviously decided to go turn pro before then. What led to that decision? Why did you decide to make the pro jump at that point in time?
I was a bit too young for the 2012 Olympics, but
Hmm.
2016 in Rio was my goal. Unfortunately, I fell short and didn't qualify for the World Championships, to then qualify for the Olympics. But
Right.
um, I was just at a stage in my career where I didn't want to wait around for the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo, which ended up being in 2021. So it would have
Right.
been a number of 5 years. Well, I turned pro in 2018, so it would have been a number of 3 years
Yeah.
to wait, and I might not have achieved that. So I just felt like it was the right time. I'd achieved everything that I wanted to achieve in Irish boxing. I'd represented my country all around the world, and I'd learnt my trade, and I just felt that I was ready to turn professional, and it was the right time for me.
When you made the jump, was the transition for yourself easy? Obviously, there's different styles between amateur and pro, but was it an easy transition for yourself? Do you feel like you adjusted quite quickly, or how was the transition for you?
Yeah, I adjusted quite quickly. I
Yeah.
was always labelled as an amateur that had a professional style.
Yeah.
Um, so from a very young age, I knew that I was going to turn pro at the end of my amateur career, and um, it didn't take me long to adjust. I always kind of had that aggressive style. I like to be patient, like to take my time and pick my shots. So um, I was ready to jump straight into the professional ranks.
Before you end up making your official pro debut, 2017 comes around. I want to ask you about this story because you're 20 years old, you're attacked by a gang in Belfast, and then you end up getting hospitalized with a gash going down your face and neck that was life threatening. Can you take us through what all went down that night and just how were you able to even come back from that?
Um, yeah, I was out in Belfast a week prior to just won a gold medal at a tough multi-nation tournament in Paris,
Hmm.
and yeah, I was just out, and a group of about 30 lads had just started an argument, and one thing led to another. We ended up fighting, and I've ended up obviously coming out with a stab wound. Obviously, it was a very tough tough time in my life, tough moment for me. I
Right.
nearly lost my life. It halted my career and postponed things for me. But I have a very strong mind. I've been through a lot in life that people probably don't know about and that I don't speak about from a young age, and I've kind of just developed that mental toughness throughout the years. So when I got stabbed, I was able to um, come through it because I was very already mentally strong, and obviously there was tough times. Um, I suffered with mental health issues, and I hit some dark places at that time, but I just had to stay positive. I had the right people around me, the right friends, family. Boxing really saved me, to be honest. I knew that I wanted to achieve something in boxing, and if I would have let that incident take over and either affect me mentally and not let me have the confidence to get back in the ring, or affect me as in me trying to seek revenge, I knew that boxing would have been over. So um, I really had to make a decision whether I wanted to continue my career and go on to achieve the things that I believe that I could achieve, or do I throw it all down the drain and waste the talent that I had. And I was mentally strong enough to look at the positives and continue my career and just make boxing a reason for me to continue my career, in terms of never letting anything get you down in life. And no matter what situation you go through, there's always a brighter side. And if you have a positive mind and build a strong mentality, that you can achieve whatever you want to achieve in life. And I knew that. So the only option for me was to continue to box and prove to myself that I'm still the fighter that I was before I got stabbed, and that I can be a better fighter, and use that to spur me on and motivate me.
I want to touch up on a few components you just discussed, one of which is the mentality aspect. People are going to go through, hopefully not as extreme as that situation you went through, but they're going to go through ups and downs in life. You talked about the component of staying mentally strong, staying locked in, and still pursuing your dreams. Was that, like you said, ingrained in yourself from the time you were younger, or did that almost kind of grow and nurture itself as you're going through a situation?
Um, I think just where I come from, the community that I come from, and nothing was given to me in life. So from a young age, I've always had to kind of be independent and fend for myself. And I just knew that no matter, I got to a stage. Obviously, you go through things in life and boxing, and obviously when I got stabbed, I genuinely hit rock bottom. So all the past experiences that I struggled with helped create that mindset of um, you've got to want to continue, you've got to want to help yourself, you've got to want to achieve something. And I use that as motivation to this day, that no matter what I go through, or anybody goes through in life, whether it's issues with boxing, injuries, personal life, job, with a positive mindset, you can overcome it. And that really helped me.
When you woke up in the hospital bed and you're going through a situation that was life threatening for yourself, at that point in time, I'm sure immediately you probably weren't thinking about boxing, but obviously once you got out and certain things happened, you started the recovery process. When did you realize, what, I can still go pursue boxing? When did it start to kind of get in your mind saying, I'm going to be all right, I can get back and start working my way back into boxing?
Oh, I knew that from the moment that I come out of surgery, that there was nothing
Okay.
that was going. Obviously, you have things that drift into your head, seeking, like I said, seeking revenge or letting it mentally affect me.
Hmm.
Um, but I knew the first thing I said to the doctors was, as soon as I come out of surgery, was, "When can I get back in the ring?" And
Okay.
they laughed at they laughed at me and said, "Let's not focus on that right now. Let's just focus on recovering." But from that moment, I knew that I needed to get back in the ring, because I'm, I have an ego, as we all do as men, as humans, and
Right.
I have a lot of pride, and I never wanted the public or the fight fans or anybody that followed boxing or knew me to kind of question whether I would be the same fighter after getting
Hmm.
stabbed. And I needed to prove everybody wrong, and I needed to prove myself right, that it was a small thing that happened to me in my. It was a major thing that happened to me in my life, but in my mind, it was something small that I can overcome. And um, yeah, I knew instantly. I remember I went back to the gym, probably a bit too early. I think it was 2 3 weeks after I got stabbed. Physically, the cut had healed, but
Hmm.
mentally, I probably wasn't in the best of places. Physically, I was still recovering, in terms of I lost a lot of blood that night, so it takes a while for your body to go back to normal um, and to obviously regenerate all that blood back. So I started getting lightheaded in training sessions and feeling sick
Mm-hmm.
and not being able to train. And I kind of questioned, is this going to be like this for a long time? But I took another couple of weeks away from boxing, and then I was straight back into the gym. And I think I fought in a tough multi-nation tournament 5 months after, and I won it. So
Right.
that hard work and that mentality paid off.
You talked about the mental component. That was almost probably one of the harder, difficult points to kind of overcome in that situation. When did you feel like, you passed it? You kind of got past the point. You said, you know what, I'm in a better place mentally. How long did it take, and when did you get back to a normal mental state?
It took a long time. I
Okay.
think probably 2.5 years to 3 years to.
Mm.
I don't think I will ever fully recover from it. It was an experience in my life where I nearly lost my life, and
Right.
it obviously um, mentally damaged me. But it took a good 2 to 3 years for me to um, recover from the demons that I was suffering, recover from the mental health issues that I was going through, and I had to go get professional help. I had great friends and family around me that
Mm.
always lent a shoulder to lean on and kind of voice what problems I was going through. So I would say 2 3 years it took.
How critical is it to have family members, or at least a close inner circle, as you're going through the up and downs of boxing, and in this situation specifically? But how important is it to have that tight internet circle around you?
It's very important. I'm somebody that has a very very small circle. Some of my friends have been with me since day one, and they played a big part in helping me with my recovery mentally. Because on the days that I didn't want to go to the gym or I couldn't see that vision, they wouldn't let me forget it, and
Mm.
um, that's very important in life. Away from boxing, away from anything, it's very important in life to have them people around you that no matter what, they're not when you're down in the dumps, they're not going to let you um, forget the vision that they know you can go down and that road. And that my friends and my family helped me immensely to get back to the person that I was before I suffered that incident.
Keeman, if I would have known you at that point in time, I would have said, you know what? In many, many years from now, you're going to be 17-0, 7 KOs, number 4 ranked in the WBA. What would your reaction have been?
The probably the, at that time I probably would have thought you were lying.
Okay.
I would have obviously I've always believed in myself and believed that I can reach the top of this sport. Um, but when I went through that situation, I questioned everything for a long time. I questioned,
Mhm.
was this meant for me? Am I going to achieve this goal? Am I going to be able to continue to box? And um, I probably would have laughed at you to say that I'll be in the position that I am in now. But I know it's taken a lot of hard work and a lot of dark days to get to where I am now, and that's why I'm thankful. I'm thankful for the people that I have around me. I'm thankful for the support that not just my friends and family, but when I got stabbed, the community come together to help support me, and that's why I have so much love for the Irish people and the Irish fans and fight fans and everyone in the community. Because when I was down in the dumps and was at rock bottom, it wasn't just people closest to me that helped me. It was the
Mhm.
boxing community that helped me get back to where I am now. So um, yeah, I've had a hard journey, but I've had the right people around me and the right support around me.
A little bit after this time all goes down, you make your professional debut. You end up making your pro jump at that point in time. And before we get into that, though, I do want to ask you, you have the nickname Black Thunder. How'd that come to be? Where'd you get that nickname?
So I fought for the Italian funders in the WSB as an
Okay.
amateur, the World Series of Boxing, and I'd won my fight. Obviously, that platform was over 5 rounds. It's more so a kind of semi-pro. I don't know if
Sure.
you're aware of the WSB, but
Hmm.
um, yeah. So I'd won that for the Italian funders, and I was just a couple of days after I was out with a friend. We were both drunk, and he started calling me Black Thunder, and I remember in that moment, I was just like, because I always said if I have a boxing name, I want it to be original. I want it to be authentic. I don't want it just to be something that everybody else has. So that's why
Okay.
I never had a boxing name as like an amateur or anything like that. And as soon as he said that, I said that's going to be my boxing name.
And so at that point in time, did you start branding yourself completely from that point going forward then?
At that point going forward, it was Black Thunder.
I love that, man. So let's get in that pro debut then for yourself. As you start going through this journey now, I want to get to the promotional aspect. And obviously, you bounce around a little bit. Start off with Queensberry. You end up going to Matchroom a little bit later on. But for Queensberry's point, for starting off with, what was that relationship like, and why did you decide to go to Queensberry then at that point?
There was a couple offers on the table whenever I was turning professional, but Queensberry was the best option for me. They had the best platform to fight on BT Sports, TNT.
Right.
Um, I was going to be signed with a Hall of Fame promoter in Frank Warren, somebody that's been around the game a very long time, and a lot of the fighters that he promoted um, that I watched growing up. So it was an easy choice for me to sign with Frank Warren, and I was with Frank for 3 years. I had 9 fights, and um, he was good to me, and had a great time being signed by Frank Warren.
You then make your move over to Matchroom. What led to that decision?
Um, I think it was just at that time it was a better deal. It was a better opportunity for me, and my main priority was to fight back in Belfast and
Mhm.
come home. All my fights prior to that had been in England, so my main objective was to fight in Belfast, and that's something that Eddie Hearn believed in and wanted to do. And that was kind of the real talent point for me in the negotiations.
You know, a lot of people don't understand the complete business aspect of boxing. That's all the stuff that goes down behind the scenes, and that's obviously kind of what we're discussing right now. And so, for yourself, how have you been able to go through the ups and downs of the business aspect? I was talking about Queensberry Matchroom, then obviously you parted ways with Matchroom. Walk us through just the whole business component there.
Yeah, it's very tough. There's a lot of politics in boxing.
Right.
Um, but yeah, like you said, I was with Frank Warren, and then I was with Eddie Hearn, and obviously I'm a free agent now. But it's very tough when you're going through stages like that in your career, where the kind of situation I'm in now, where you've no contract, you've no guaranteed fights.
Mm.
Um, but again, for me, it's just the vision, it's just the mentality, the mindset that you have to have, because nothing in life comes easy. Anything worth having is going to be a struggle to get, and um, for me, I've got a bulletproof mindset. I don't care what happens in my life. I know where I want to be, and I know how hard I have to work to be there. So, um, all I can do is train as hard as I possibly can, be willing to continue to learn, and when my opportunities come, I've got to take them. Just like that last fight, a short notice opportunity. Um,
Mhm.
if I didn't take that, I would probably be in a worse. I would be in a worse off position right now,
Yeah.
with no direction on where my career is going. But yeah, I've just got to train hard, keep a clear mind, and once my opportunities come, I've just got to take them with both hands.
When you did part ways with Matchroom, is there a reason behind that, or what all happened? Were you shocked by that even, or just what all happened in that situation?
I'm not too sure what the reason was.
Okay.
I was out of contract. We were talking about negotiating a new contract, and I took a fight against Troy Williamson, which was the biggest fight of my career at that
Right.
time. And a lot of people were saying that I was going to lose and that I didn't want that fight. So for me to take that fight, win it comfortably, and Troy Williamson was feared domestically. There wasn't any English fighters or any domestic fighters that wanted to fight him at the time. So
Yeah.
um, to go out and beat him convincingly, and then to not renew my contract and continue with Matchroom, I was obviously very shocked and um, disappointed in a way. But I understand the sport and I understand the game. It's nothing personal, and um, that situation was out of my hands. So all I could do was just keep a clear mind and keep training hard, because there'll be another opportunity that comes.
Curious now, when you talk about promotional discussions right now, you are number 4 in the WBA. You know, you're also believe you can get ranked in the IBF when they come out now in the new rankings. When you
Just come
talk
out
about those,
today, number
yeah, they
15.
did come out
Oh,
today. I didn't see that.
number 14, sorry.
Okay, that's why I knew they were coming out soon. So I didn't know if you got in there or not. I knew there's rumors you're going to be in the top 15. So with you in there now, you know, you're a guy that could be fighting for potentially a world championship or title eliminator in the near future. Is there discussion on the promotional end where you could be signing with somebody? Is there discussion you have with anybody, or where do you stand on that?
I think technically that I am still I am signed with Matchroom as that last fight was on the Matchroom show, and
Right.
we signed a contract for another one or two fights.
Okay.
So technically speaking, I am under contract with Matchroom. But yeah, like I'm number four with the WBA, number fifth or number 14 with IVF, number 27 with the WBC, which is a bit high.
Right.
I, I'm top five in Europe. Do you know what I mean? I've got an unbeaten record. I've got a fan friendly style, and I feel like I am a fighter that should be signed with one of these top promoters on a long
Definitely.
term deal, and a fighter that deserves that opportunity. But this is boxing. Do you know what I mean? That I understand it. Not everything is smooth sailing in boxing in life. So I can't really complain because for the first 6 years of my career, I've been with two of the best boxing promoters in the game.
Right.
So I don't like to be kind of throw my toys out of the pram and complain about, oh, I should still be signed, or why aren't I signed. I've got to go and prove that to people why they should sign me, and I got to go prove to them that they shouldn't sleep on me and that I should still be getting these opportunities. So I leave that down to me. I don't blame promoters or anything like that.
All right. Well, you brought up the Troy Williamson fight, and that's something I do want to discuss a little bit because that was almost that moment where you kind of woke up to the global scale. A lot of people listened and said, you know what, you are for real. You're a legitimate threat now. And that was kind of like your turning point in your career, I feel like, at least from the outside looking in. What was that night like? And would you say was an accurate statement? Like, do you feel like that was the moment that almost solidified yourself as a legitimate threat on the global, on especially the domestic scene?
Yeah, definitely. It was a great night for me in my career to
Mhm.
be able to fight back home in Belfast against a great fighter in Troy Williamson and go out and put the performance on that I did and get a comfortable win. It was surreal for me. Um, but yeah, I felt like once I beat Troy that everything would then move forward and that I've shown to the world or certainly boxing fans that I'm the real deal and I'm here to make waves in the boxing scene. But obviously things went quiet after that and I wasn't able to kick on as quickly as I wanted to. But um, I'm in this position now and I'm happy and I'm thankful that um, I'm world ranked and I'm still unbeaten and that it's only a matter of time that I'll get my opportunity.
Well, let's head into your future plans now because I did see some stuff online. I know also made a post right after you had your defeat against Ryan Kelly that you could be returning in September. Is that still the plan? Do you still want to get back in the ring around September time?
Yeah,
Okay.
September, October time is the
All
plan.
right.
Um, it'll hopefully be back in Belfast. No opponent announced just yet, but my team's working on something, and I'll be in a big fight, and I'm looking forward to it.
If I were to ask you, let's look at the next year, year and a half, even heading into 2027, where do you see yourself? What do you see yourself accomplishing? Amount of fights, potential world champion status? Like, where do you see yourself heading into 2027?
Um, I think by 2027 that I have to be in contention of fighting for world titles or being a world champion. I think I've
Mhm.
got all the attributes and ability and skill set to become a world champion, and I believe in myself. So as long as I get the opportunities and the right fights, then there's no way that I can't achieve that dream and goal of mine. So I just want to be as active as possible this year, be in some big fights, keep moving through the ranks, and then by early to mid next year, I want to be in world title fights.
In terms of potential opponents, I know one guy that's been rumored around has been the guy that you ended up replacing on short notice in Ishmael Davis. And that's a fight that some fans locally, domestically want to see. Is that on your radar? Is that a fight you would be interested in?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think Ismail deserves the fight with me, but
Okay.
if if that's who I have to beat to get to where I'm going, so be it.
All
Um,
right.
whoever my team tell me is next, I'm going to fight. If that's the person that I need to get to the next stage to get to a world title, then bring on Ismail Davis. I'm ready for them fights. Ismail's a good fighter. We've showed round sparring, but he's just another person in my way to reaching my goal. So it could be Ismail. I'm not sure if he has other plans. I seen this or last week that he become mandatory for the British title against Sam
Right.
Gilly. So I'm not too sure if they're going to make that fight or if it's going to be me and Ismail Davis next. But it's a fight that I'm ready for and a fight that I'd welcome with open arms.
So if that fight were to happen, what's your prediction? How does that fight go down?
Caoimhin Agyarko win.
All right. I
Any
like it.
by any means necessary, whether it's a stoppage, whether it's points. I just think I'm a better fighter than Ismail Davis, and that's no disrespect to Ismail because I think Ismail's a good fighter, but Caoimhin Agyarko is just better.
All right. When you talk about making the world stage jump, obviously I said you're top four in the WBA right now. Is there a time where you're starting to say, you know what, I'm ready to start jumping up and making those worldwide fights, whether that be against a guy who's ranked in front of you in the WBA, like Jesus Ramos, Abbas, someone like those guys? Are those guys on your radar, or when do you plan on possibly making that world stage jump?
I've been calling Abbas Baru out since last year,
Right.
and that's a fight that I want. He's just vacated the European title. That's a fight that I wanted because I want to. I know you can't skip levels in boxing, so I want to fight for the European title and then push on to world honors. But
Right.
I'm ready for all these fighters. I'm 28 years old now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a kid. I'm not a prospect. I'm a contender. So I just need the right dancing partner in front of me. Give me anyone ranked in front of me. That's the fights that I want. That's the fights that I need to get to where I want to be. The fights with like Ismail Davis isn't really going to put me in a position to fight for a world title.
Right.
He's not ranked, and that's no disrespect to Ismail, but um, these are the fights I want. The Bas Barus and the people that are ranked above me. They're the fights that I want because they're the fights that are going to bring me closer to that world title.
When you evaluate the landscape right now, guys that are in front of you, whether it be WBA, IBF now even, is there, let's say, three or four guys, who would be the guy that you would ideally want to fight? If it was no politics, no business side aside, like you just want to fight these guys because you know what's best for yourself career-wise, also what you want to do, who would those top three or four guys be?
I honestly don't know. I don't look at the division too much. I couldn't tell you. I know that Bas
Okay.
Barus ranks higher than me. I know there isn't many other fighters that I know in the division. But someone like an Abbas Baru, someone like a Tim Tszyu, these are
Right.
these fighters are the fighters that I want. Kubanov, the Russian,
Right.
I think he's top 15 in the WBA. So any of these type of fighters, Israel Madrimov, I'll welcome them all with open arms. I
Okay.
believe that I can beat any of these fighters, and I just need that opportunity. So whoever it may be, like I say, I never focus on the fighter. I always focus on myself. I'm
Mhm.
better in myself, and I know that as long as I better myself, that I can beat anybody. So I leave all the opponent talk to my manager and my coaches, and whoever they say they want next is who I'll fight.
I know you said the September date. Could we see one of those big fights September, or are you thinking one of those bigger fights could possibly happen later on in the year?
Well, if it's Ismail Davis in September October, then I think that's a big enough fight. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
He's fought at a high level against Josh Kelly and the Ukrainian that beat him. Um, so that's a massive fight. So someone like him, or if not him, I want someone better than him.
Right.
I want big names. I want to be able to fight for world titles. I want to be able to come back to Belfast and headline shows and give the Irish fans great nights of boxing. So I'm ready for a massive fight in September October time.
All right. Well, Keeman, I have one final question for you. It's a question like wrapping up each every single interview with, and it's talking about your legacy. Obviously, you're only 28 years old. You still got a long way to go in this career. But when the day does come to a conclusion, you decide to put down the gloves, move on from boxing. What do you want your legacy to be for what you've accomplished both inside and outside of that ring?
I think I want people to remember me that for my fighting style, that I was an exciting fighter, that I never turned down a challenge, and that I paved the way for the younger generation to come through. Ultimately, I want to become the first Black Irish world champion and um, put my name in the history books
Right.
and stuff like that. But I think to pave the way for the younger generation and there's not a lot of role models from Ireland or from Belfast, whether that's within your friend group or within your family. There's not a lot of role models for people coming from our community, and I want to be one of them people that little kids can look up to and say, "I want to be like him," or "I want to be able to become a champion just like him."
Okay.
So when it's all said and done, I just want to leave my mark on boxing, on Irish boxing, and for the fans to remember me as a great fighter.
I love that. Well, Keeman, I appreciate you taking time to come on in, man. It's been a blessing and an honor having you on here. I can't not wait to see what God's got in store for you.
Thanks very much.
Absolutely. You're always welcome on, man. God bless.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate everybody for tuning into the interview. I'm going to go on a short break, and then we'll get right back into the rest of the show. I will see you guys very shortly. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the SchuZ Show. I'm your host, Zach SchuZ Shoemaker. Obviously, for those that did not pick up on it yet, today is the debut of me having the show on X as well. It's still on YouTube as well if you guys want to check it out on that end, but I've now expanded and we'll be having the show going down every day on X as well. With that being said, though, Nahir Albert will be joining the show in about 12 minutes now. So before I get into that point of the interview, I'm going to be hopping into some recaps of what went down this past weekend in the boxing world. So let's head into a recap of the fights that happened because there were quite a few things. You had the matchroom card with Richardson Hitchins, George Kambosos. You had the Ghana card going down, as well as Donaire fought, Juan Francisco Estrada fought. I'm breaking all that down right now. So let's get right into it, though. For the matchroom card, Richardson Hitchins, George Kambosos Jr., the IBF super lightweight title was on the line. And I want to get into one thing right at the gate. I'm going to go talk about Richardson Hitchins and his great performance in a moment, but I do want to start this portion off with George Kambosos. I think it's important that we do give props and flowers to a man that does decide to step up and fight the best of the best. That is a legitimate problem in boxing for the past 10, 15 years now. And what we cannot deny is whether or not he regards or should deserve to be in that position, he does time and time again show up and fight the best of the best. I think that does deserve a lot of props. He also does bring that warrior mentality every time he steps foot in that ring. And I think those things do deserve a lot of credit for George Kambosos. Now, at the very same time, this should be the final time that we see George Kambosos fight on a massive stage as he did on Saturday night. At least unless he builds himself up miraculously over the duration of the next year or so. He's going to need 3 or 4 more big fights to get himself in position. I do want to give props to him, but at the same time I said it's time to move on. I do not think he belongs back in a big stage for a very long time. Let's head into Richardson Hitchins, though. I said this on Friday's show, that Hitchins is the guy that I do like a lot. I think he's talented, but I feel like we're still waiting to see, is he that guy? And what I mean by that guy, I mean, is this the guy that could defend his belt for a very long time, be in massive fights going forward? And I said, Saturday night will reveal that to us in a large way. It's going to be his very first title defense. George Kambosos is a man that has gone out there and performed upsets in the past. Can he go out there and dominate? And now I can tell you as on Monday that he is certainly that guy. Now, to what extent will that guy be? I don't know. We'll see what happens over the next, few months, whatever it might be. But he is certainly a very talented fighter. And what I want to start off with is say this. He has one of the best jabs in all boxing. When we saw the way he broke George Kambosos down throughout the duration of that fight leading to the stoppage, his jab and the way he fights behind that jab is special. I'm not sure I want to list it as the best jab in boxing. I do believe that belongs to Jamal Charlo. But when you're talking about some of the best jabs in all boxing, he is certainly in that top tier. Whether that be, I know this is off the top of my head, but he's somewhere inside that top 5, I would say, confidently. I think you're talking about Inoue obviously in the mix up in there. Obviously, Hitchins would be in that mix as well. I said obviously number 1 is Jamal Charlo. These are just top off my head, but I'd say he's firmly in that top 5 group. The way he was able to fight behind the jab, break down George Kambosos, and then put the finishing touches, obviously, to get the KO in that fight was phenomenal. The way, and this might just be a one-off, I don't believe it is, but the way he was in composure from the start of that fight to the end was incredible. There was no moments, in fact, that anything was in doubt. He was in more control during that entire duration of the fight than I ever expected to see have happen, and to the extent that he did it in. And that's why I'm confident saying right now that Richardson Hitchins is a man that I think is going to be on the massive stage for a foreseeable future. He made a legitimate statement this weekend, and obviously, no, George Kambosos is that guy. Is he one of those elite competitors? No. But it was good enough to see against a veteran like George Kambosos, who's been on the big stage, to see him break him down the way that he did. It was a cherry on top to what I would say is, listen, this is a legitimate player at this weight class now at 140. So what could possibly be next for Richardson Hitchins? There's a lot of things. Following the fight, immediately after the fight, we all saw who we called out, Devin Haney. Obviously, that's the fight that would be interesting, but what I would say is a little bit shocked. It felt as though, and I don't know if he knew about this or not, I'm assuming he did not, but the way that Teofimo Lopez was sitting in the crowd, worked its way up into that ring after the fight, it felt as if the answer that was going to come out of his lips was going to be, I want Devin Haney, or I want Teofimo Lopez. But obviously, we listened back to what he said. He wants Devin Haney. And it's not very shocking. I think we look back to a couple weeks ago. They were in the gym together with the Haneys, and they were going back and forth. I feel like this was quietly being built up to be the fight that they both wanted to make. But I'm still a little bit shocked because Teofimo Lopez makes a lot more sense. According to everything we know about Devin Haney at this point in time, he wants to move to 147. Obviously, if you're Hitchins, I think he can just stay at 140 for a little bit longer, work his way out, and build himself up at 140. So I'm not sure where exactly that makes sense because I'm assuming that fight would have to be done at 147 unless Haney comes back to 140, which he has already said before that he doesn't plan on doing that. So I think the fight that makes the most sense here, if I'm being honest, is the unification with Teofimo Lopez. You could have that fight be done anywhere in New York right now, and that would be a massive fight I think you'd be able to make. Two New York guys, both guys would be world champions, unification. I think that's the best fight to make. And if you're Teofimo Lopez, obviously you're in a situation where there's not a lot of things on the table that you would want to pursue. Obviously, Boots is no longer at 147, and that's what you wanted to do beforehand. The Devin Haney fight, as much as I would have liked to see that fight happen, it's obviously off the books now. So now you're looking at a situation where what is next for Teofimo Lopez? If you're looking at the most money you could probably make at 140 right now, realistically, it would be with Richards and Hitchins. And not only do I feel like that's the best fight to make in terms of a financial standpoint, it's also a great fight to make. I think you could easily say those are the two best guys at 140. I do like Gary Antoine Russell, but I think if you're looking at the best two guys at 140, Teofimo Lopez, Hitchins are probably those two guys. I think it's all safe we could say that at this point in time. But does the Devin Haney fight come to fruition? That's obviously to be determined. If it is at 147, if I'm Richards and Hitchins, I'd say no. You should probably work your way up at 140. And if we're being honest, I think it's a much bigger financial fight going up against a Teofimo Lopez as it is to go up against Devin Haney. Because of the fact that you can obviously fight it up in New York. Obviously, you could do that for Devin Haney as well. But Teofimo Lopez is a much bigger name, and you have the unification involved. If I were to look at all the fights that's realistically on the table, that's the fight to make, in my opinion. If we could get that fight done by the end of the year, it probably could get done probably November-ish time, October. That would be an ideal situation. I think that would be a great fight to make. Obviously, if you want to go unification route, you could also add in Gary Antoine Russell. That would also be a solid fight you could make. For George Kambosos, as I said, this man does have a big name. I mean, it's fair to say this. He is one of the most best managed careers that we have seen in boxing that's not a superstar in quite some time. This man had one remarkable moment against Teofimo Lopez, had one of the biggest upsets not only of that year, but obviously in the recent memory, and that has carried him away to having two fights with Devin Haney, having a fight against Vasily Lomachenko, the Maxi Hughes fight, and now Richards and Hitchins. It's time for him to work his way back up a little bit now. And so if I were to say who's next for George Kambosos, obviously he did have his Jake Wiley fight a little bit ago, but probably going back home, getting 1 or 2 fights domestically in Australia, somewhere around there, would probably make sense for him. Because talent-wise, as much as I respect George Kambosos for stepping up and finding the best, he is not that guy right now. And I'm not sure if he ever was. Obviously, when you beat a guy like Teofimo Lopez, he deserves flowers for that fight. But that could have very well been a one-off moment. Because he did not, obviously you could debate the Devin Haney fights, whatever you want to do there. He did not beat Vasily Lomachenko. Maxi Hughes is very debatable. And obviously he got beat down by Richards and Hitchins. So when you put all those pieces together, I just don't see a realistic point that you're going to look at him and say, you know what? This is the guy that I see going out there and getting another big fight anytime soon. Now, obviously he's pulled off miracles before and got another big fight against Hitchins, even though he did not look good in the Jake Wiley fight. But I feel like right now the best opportunity for him if he wants to rebuild himself is actually to rebuild himself properly. See where he's at from a skill standpoint, from a career standpoint, body standpoint. He is getting up there in age. So seeing what he can do from that standpoint, work his way up. And if he does that, if he wins 3, 4, 5 fights now or whatever it might be, then sure, if he does that, he can get himself back in a big position. But I don't see that happening. I think for the time being, it's time for Kambosos to move on from big fights, and I don't think we're going to see him back on the stage. So who could be fighting? This obviously a long list of people. Just tune yourself up. Go work on yourself for a little bit. Get 2 or 3 fights at least underneath your belt. And if those go according to plan, and you still want to pursue boxing, then go ahead and go forth with that. Let's get into one more fight before I go on a quick break and we get into the Nahir Albright interview. Let's go to this one. Andy Cruz, Hiroshi Mashiro, the co-main event. This was the final eliminator for the IBF lightweight title. All I'm going to say is this. Mashiro, he went out there. He showed heart. That's pretty much all I had. Just to keep it 100 with you guys. I really don't know how he got in position to be in a title eliminator. All due respect, like I said, he's got heart. But I don't know how he got in position to a title eliminator. He was not good. I might even go as far as saying he was trash in that fight. And maybe it's a one-off. He's been better before. I've seen him fight before. He's been okay. But what he did on Saturday night was just bad. There was nothing good about what happened in that fight. Andy Cruz put him. It was just a masterclass. It was absolute domination. He didn't know how to defend himself. He had absolutely zero defense. He was just being a punching bag in that ring. It was not a good fight. It was a statement win by Andy Cruz. Don't get that twisted. But in terms of it being a good fight, absolutely not. This was a horrible title eliminator. I do not know how Mashiro was in that position. Andy Cruz put the beat down on him. It was an embarrassing fight. I don't think Mashiro's got a long, long way to go before he's even in contention for anything again. Obviously, that's him. I'm not going to discuss too much more about him. As for Andy Cruz, though, part of me wants to go out there and say, listen, obviously, I think Andy Cruz is very, very good. I also do think that Mashiro is just not very good at all. I'm not taking anything away from Andy Cruz. I'm just saying that that's that standpoint where I'm willing to go out there and say Andy Cruz is a future world champion, a superstar, all those type of things. I'm not sold on that yet, although I do think he's legit. And I think that the way he performed on Saturday night does make a fight that needs to happen next with Raymond Martaya for the IBF lightweight title makes a lot more sense. That fight is going to be appealing. Because regardless of what it is, I'm not even going to look at the Mashiro fight because, as I said, Andy Cruz did exactly as he should have. He took care of a guy that did not deserve to be in that ring. But I'm looking at all the data we have about Andy Cruz throughout his career to this point, even factoring some of the amateur stuff just because of his skill set and what we know he brings to the table. He is a very skilled fighter. And it would not shock me one bit for him to become world champion. In fact, I think when we look at it, obviously we're all going to say, okay, Keyshawn Davis fight would be fun. We all would like to see that fight. I think it has to happen in the future, whether that be at 140, 135 somehow. If Keyshawn could ever do that again, I doubt it, or catchweight, whatever it is. That fight must happen eventually. But if you're Andy Cruz right now, you can go for a legacy standpoint. Raymond Martaya makes plenty of sense for yourself. That's the fight to make. You got the title eliminator now. You are in position to go get that fight. It should get ordered any day now. Go make that fight happen. That would be an incredible fight. I think it'd be a really, really good fight between Martaya, Andy Cruz. Make that fight happen. It's the perfect fight to happen. I'm going to get into the rest of that card right after this break because I'm going to go on a short break. Then we'll get right into the interview here. I'm probably just going to get him added into the show. And then we'll wrap up the Matchroom card, get into the Ghana card, and other things to wrap up the show right after the interview. But I'm going to go on a quick break, see you guys about 2 minutes, and we'll get into the Albright interview right after that. I'll see you guys shortly. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the SchuZ Show. I'm your host, Zach SchuZ Shoemaker. Joining me now at this point of the show is a man that holds a 17-2 record with 7 KOs. He's now the WBC USA Silver Super Lightweight Champion. Go by the nickname Woo. That's Nahir Albright. Nahir, appreciate you taking time to come on today, man.
Sir.
Absolutely, man. Well, first things first, you're about a week and a half, week and move removed now from the fight. What's going through your mind right now?
I've been on high. That was one of the biggest wins of my career.
Here, one sec. We got a little echo going on right now. Cutting in now. Let me see what's going on. One sec. I'm going to cut to a quick break, see what we got going on.
All right.
All right, welcome back, everyone. So we're try to test this out one more time. So here, obviously, you're about a week removed now from your fight. What's going through your mind now that you've been about a week removed?
Right now, I'm like depressed. I was on high. That's the biggest wins of my career. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's still going on again. Let me see what's going on. I'm not sure what's up. One sec, everyone. One more test. Here, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm feeling great.
Yeah, it's still cutting out. One sec, everyone. We'll be right back. Apologies everyone for the technical difficulties. Hopefully we'll get them figured out now. But let's try it one more time. So Nahir, obviously about a week removed from the fight now. What's going through your mind at this point in time?
Right now, you know, it's exciting 2 weeks. I got one of my, so I'm excited for the future.
Yeah, it's going on again. One sec, everybody. Sorry about this.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back to the SchuZ Show, everybody. So, I touched into here. For some reason, the audio is not coming through on his end. Obviously, anyone that was trying to tune into that interview could tell on that portion. So, we're going to try getting something fixed up. I'm not sure exactly why that's happening. So, we're going to get that texted up. I'm going to actually mess with the company right now, see if they can figure out the audio issues. But we are going to reschedule that interview. We just talked with him right now. So, we're going to get that rescheduled for a couple of days later on. So, Nahir Albright will be back on the show later on, either this week or early next week. So, I'll keep you guys posted on that interview. But for those of you, once again, that's tuning in, for the Nahir Albright interview, that will be postponed to another date. Hopefully, we'll get all the technical issues solved and settled out now. So, with that being said, let's get right back to where I left off prior to the interview, and that was discussing the Matchroom card headlined by Richardson Hitchins and George Kambosos. We already discussed the main event, co-main event. Let's head over to the rest of that card. And remember, the interesting thing about this card this past weekend was that there was an issue. They had 3 cards that was going to be on the main card that got canceled for one reason or another. So this card was a little bit in flux the final 2 or 3 days before the fight happened, and it ended up moving up Termawana to third up behind the co-main event. Let's break down his fight. He fought an undefeated Liam Whitfield, and in this fight, he got the round 1 KO. Now, let me say this. I have talked about Termawana many times before. This is a man that I do believe will be a future heavyweight world champion. I understand it's really early to say that. I understand that, listen, he has not fought a lot of great guys. Sure, Liam Whitfield had a good record there, but he is nowhere near the capabilities or talent level of a legitimate heavyweight threat. There's still plenty of time to see how he's going to develop. But what I'm looking at is the fundamental, foundational components of Termawana Jr. This is a man that goes out there and has great skill overall. He has great power, great size, all those different attributes. And he's still very young. And that's why I say, it's not going to be fighting for a world title before the end of this year. No. But I'm looking at, let's say, heading into 2027, the year 2027. I could see him being a legitimate threat fighting for potentially a world championship by that point in time, maybe even late 2026. But I'd say 2027 is the year I'm going to outline for Termawana Jr. This is a guy that overall is going to be one of the bright future stars of the heavyweight division. And that's huge for the heavyweight division. Because I remember a time just about, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, where we looked at a very aging out heavyweight class, headlined by Tyson Fury, Usyk, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, those guys, and obviously many others. It was very aging weight class. And there was not this bright future. But now all of a sudden, we have a man that's already a world champion in his mid-20s in Daniel Dubois. We have one of the, if not the best prospects in all of boxing right now, Mosi Toma. We have guys like Termawana Jr. Obviously, just to throw the names in there, I'm not sure if they're going to be world champions in the future, but Rich Torres Jr., Jared Anderson, those type of guys. There are lots of up-and-coming heavyweights now on the rise. And this is huge for sport. Because the better the heavyweight division is, the better the rest of boxing will be. Whether we want to admit it or not, the heavyweight division will always be the supreme division. And maybe for boxing fans like myself, sure, are there fine fights that I get more excited about that are at earlier or later or lesser divisions than lesser weight classes? Absolutely. But what I'm going to be looking at now is when you talk about the heavyweight division, when you talk about casual fans that will only tune in for 1, 2, maybe 3 fights a year, the heavyweight division will always be the supreme division in their eyes. And that's why it's great importance to have big names and big fights at the heavyweight division. And now that we're starting to have more and more youth in the heavyweight division, it's only going to be a betterment for the overall state of boxing as a whole. Also on the card, Zaquin Moses, Carl Rogers. Zaquin Moses put on a masterclass, 4th round KO. I said this many times before, and I'm going to say this confidently once again. Zaquin Moses is a man that when I look at his ability, this is going to be a man that's going to be a problem for a very long time. And I can confidently say that. Sure, he's a ways off from being a world title contender and those type of things, but I'm still saying that this man right here has a chance to be one of those guys in the future. I'm quite confident, even although it's very early to say this, that he will be a world champion in the future. That's my thoughts on Zaquin Moses. I think he's legit. And we also saw some things going down in X. He was actually on the show 2 weeks ago, and he talked about him and Moten. Obviously, we know the very highly anticipated amateur fight they once had going back a couple years ago. That is the fight to make in the future. And I think when we talk about what's going to be a big fight to make in the future, especially in America, in, let's say, 3 or 5 years, Zaquin Moses, Moten. That fight's going to start brewing. We saw them go back and forth on X a little bit. That will be the fight to brew. They're going to make a lot of money in that fight. And that's going to be between 2 of the top young prospects in all boxing, especially in America, going at it. Those 2 guys are spectacular. Nishat Dev, he's another guy's up-and-coming prospect. He had a good unanimous decision win against Jose Silva. Also, Adam Maka made his pro debut with an incredible second-round KO of Rafael Castillo. Remember, Maka's only 18 years old. He's got a lot of room to develop and grow, but he's a very young, sharp fighter. He's going to be someone to keep an eye on as well. Let's head over to the card that went down Friday night in Ghana, Africa. Andrew Tabiti versus Jacob Dickinson for the WBC Bridgeweight African title. Andrew Tabiti went up, moved up to this new division at the Bridgeweight weight class, and got the 4th round KO of Dixon. It was an incredible fight for him. He had a great performance. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to solidify himself as a legitimate threat at the Bridgeweight division. Just a quick update on some of the fights that took place on that card. Daniel Gorsh, he got upset by Alatui, who was not supposed to win that fight at all. He had 4 losses. He was 7-4 heading into the fight. Gorsh was a guy that was up and coming, top 50 ranked in the bantamweight division, according to BoxRec. Now that's obviously been dwindled by a lot, but he was massively upset. Brandon Ganton, bulletproof. He made his return to the ring in Ghana, and he fought and won by unanimous decision. Also, Ohari Davis made his return from retirement and also won by unanimous decision. Both of those guys had good performances as well. Also on Friday night, OTX 14 went down. Kurt Scooby versus Haskell Rhodes, the fight I want to break down a little bit more in depth. Kurt Scooby went out there and stopped Rhodes in the 6th round. He had a great performance. He's now had 4 straight wins since his last loss to Dakota Linger. Tahir Smalls is another guy I want to give attention to. I first got to see him fight on the boots and his undercard a couple of months ago. He's now fought on the OTX 14 card, and he looked phenomenal. He was absolutely incredible once again. 2nd round, body shot KO. He looked phenomenal. He's a guy to keep an eye on. Tyreem Hayward, also 18 years old. He had a 1st round KO with a devastating body shot as well. That was also an incredible performance by him. 2 other fights I want to get into before I wrap up today's show. Juan Francisco Estrada, Kareem Ace, bantamweight fight this weekend. Juan Francisco Estrada made his return to his very first fight since he was KO'd by Bam Rodriguez last year. He fought Ace 3 times in this fight, won the scorecards 187, 98, 89, 99, and 88, all in favor of Estrada. This was his time to move up to bantamweight. He looked great. Absolutely phenomenal. This was a great performance for himself. And before I say what's going to be next for him is another fight I want to discuss. Nonito Donaire made his return against Andres Campos for the WBA interim bantamweight title. Donaire won by technical decision in the 9th round after a clash of heads led to the fight being stopped. 87-84, 87-84, 88-83, all in favor of Donaire. The reason I did not want to say what's next for Francisco Estrada is because I believe that the best fight to make between these 2 guys is between these 2 guys. Donaire and Estrada, 2 guys that have been very respectable amongst boxing fans. Both in our bantamweight division, both in the older years of fighting. What a better time to make that fight than right now. That's the fight that I believe should be made at the bantamweight division. It makes perfect sense for both guys, and it would be a very fun and intriguing fight to see happen. With that being said, I'm going to go on a quick break one more time, and then I'm going to wrap up this show with some boxing news. I'll see you guys in about 2 minutes. Welcome back to the SchuZ Show, everybody. I'm your host, Zach SchuZ Shoemaker. At this portion of the show, it's time to get into some boxing news. Early in the show, I already discussed Richardson Hitchins, his masterful performance that went down on Saturday night. But there was a little bit of drama that came right after the fight. And let's get into this now. I'm just going to give you guys the details, and I'll give you guys my thoughts right after that. Richardson Hitchins announced that he's a free agent after his 8-round KO of George Kambosos to retain his 140-pound title. Eddie Hearn told the Ring's Mike Coppinger that he's disappointed. He said this as well. I did feel disrespected because it's not him. It's just dogs around him. I've headlined him in Orlando and Vegas where we lost a lot of money. Richardson's a good kid. He's just got some snakes around him. Interesting. Aaron also expressed that he's disappointed in this decision to come out here and say he's a free agent, but confirmed that Turki Al-Sheikh told him he'll only work with Hitchins if Matchroom is involved. All right. Very interesting details right there. First and foremost, I did find it a little bit odd. When you do come off of a masterful performance and you decide to come out there and one of the first things you say is that you are a free agent. I was a little bit taken back by that, but just wondering why. This is a Matchroom card. Obviously, just came off a great performance. Eddie Hearn has been there through it all with you to this point in time. To come out now and say, you know what, I'm a free agent, I feel like unless there's been stuff behind the doors, which if that's the case, this is different. But unless they've been discussing things behind the doors and this negotiation process has not gone according to plan, then in my personal opinion, I'm a little bit baffled by the fact of why he'd come out right away and say, I'm a free agent. This could have been something handled behind closed doors unless it had already been done and nothing came from it. That's the only reason behind this that would make sense. Because for one of your first words to be that I'm a free agent, it's a little bit alarming to me. If I were Richardson Hitchins, I would stick with Matchroom. Not that I'm a big, massive Matchroom fan overall and think that everybody should go with Matchroom, but I feel like with what Eddie Hearn's got rolling with Hitchins right now, it seems to work. There's a lot of things being successfully done right now in terms of promotion, or standpoint from getting the right fights, all the different components. I feel like Eddie Hearn has done a good job with Richardson Hitchins, and if I were to be honest with you right now, I feel like this is a situation where they should go and reunite and stay with each other. And obviously, whatever Hitchins said in the ring right after the fight is what it is. You can't go back in time and change that. But hopefully they do get a deal knocked out. It makes the most sense. I don't think Hitchins will move on from Eddie Hearn for multiple reasons. One of which, obviously negotiating and what he's done already at this point in time. But also, the Turki Al-Sheikh point is huge. Anybody that wants to be big in boxing right now knows that Turki Al-Sheikh's the guy paying the big bills. And if you're Hitchins, you would like that payday after Imagine. So that would make the most sense. But Golden Boy CEO Oscar De La Hoya has called for Richardson Hitchins to discuss working together in response to Eddie Hearn's comments to the ring regarding Hitchins' free agency remarks Saturday night. Golden Boy would be interesting signing there, but once again, if I'm Richardson Hitchins, I'm sticking with Matchroom. I feel like they've done good by him. It's a good partnership. They need to stick together at this point in time. That's my personal opinion there. Abdullah Mason has now said on a podcast, it is official that Sam Noakes is the question was this, is it official that Sam Noakes is your next fight? Abdullah Mason responded with, it's official, it's official. It's ordered by the WBO. He has to fight me. Abdullah Mason, Sam Noakes. An incredible fight. I've discussed this many times. I believe it should be on the undercard of Bud Crawford and Canelo Alvarez. That's the fight to make. It sounds like it's going to happen. Massive news there for them. Last thing before I get this show wrapped up for you guys, the rematch between Panya Pedorowski, or for most people call him Pechaman CP Freshmark, and Carlos Canzales for the WBC Junior Flyweight Championship will take place on August 1st in Caracas, Venezuela. Remember, Pechaman CP Freshmark controversy won the first bout by majority decision. This would be an interesting fight. This had to happen. The rematch had to be ordered. It was a very, very controversial win to begin with. And so it's good to see this rematch will happen on August 1st. With that being said, though, I appreciate each and every single one of you guys for tuning in today's show. I will see you guys back here tomorrow. I have a very big guest coming on tomorrow's show that you guys are not going to want to miss. I will announce who that is in the early hours of tomorrow. So I appreciate you guys all for tuning in today. May God bless you guys all. I will see you guys tomorrow, and SchuZ is out. See you guys tomorrow. God bless.